It's time to take a journey into the stylized fantasy RPG Journey of the Gods on the Oculus Quest. Hey Questers, and welcome to another episode of BMF, the unofficial home for all things Oculus Quest. Keep up to date on Quest news, game reviews, and the latest developments by subscribing to the channel and hitting that notification bell. Before we get started, huge thanks to Turtle Rock Studios for sending us a copy of the game to review. With a name like Quest, one might think that the Oculus Quest is designed for RPG questing and action, but is that the case? Today we're taking a look at Journey of the Gods on the Oculus Quest. As one of the few completely original titles launched with the Quest, is it worth setting out into a virtual adventure to save the land from the Chaos Moon? Let's check in and find out. If you're a fan of action-adventure RPGs and you either own the Quest or you're looking to get one, chances are you have heard of Journey of the Gods. Journey of the Gods is a hyper-stylized first-person action-adventure game that allows you to swing a sword, block attacks, and shoot a crossbow at your enemies to save the people of the land from the evil forces of the Chaos Moon. Visually, the game is simplistic and stylized in nature. It feels very muted and simple, but I think it works really well for the style they were going for. Levels feel massive in scale, and the same goes for boss battles and large enemies. Some of the graphical choices may turn some people off from this game because of the simplistic nature, but I think they did a great job concentrating on the important aspects, such as the design of the enemies and even the weapons. The environmental design looks great as well, and I do love the variety of enemies. Speaking of enemies, this isn't really a hack and slash game, although you do get to slash at the enemies. Each enemy has a different attack style and weakness, so you have to learn to adapt your fighting style to each enemy. That'll mean quickly jumping between your sword and your crossbow at times. Fortunately, this becomes second nature and easy to do because of how well the mechanics work. Swapping between weapons is as simple as pressing a button, and the tracking was flawless in my experience. The crossbow aims true and the swordplay is fun, and I never had any issues with loss of tracking. Audibly, the game is great as well. The soundtrack fits perfectly with the fantasy style, and the sound effects are similar to the graphics. Simplistic in nature, but perfect for the style of the game. So that's how the game looks and sounds, but what about the story and how it plays? I feel like the story kinda matches the graphical style, and I don't mean that in a bad way whatsoever. It has a clear and simple story of save the people from evil, but it doesn't delve too far into a deep, earth-shattering storyline. Don't get me wrong, the story holds up. It's fun to play, feels original, and it's very intriguing. Just don't go into the game looking for a 20-plus hour epic with a storyline that'll have you riveted to your headset. Speaking of playtime, it took me between 6.5 to 7 hours to complete the game, which is a great length for a VR game. A lot of games only have 2 to 3 hours of content, so it was refreshing to have a full-length game to play on the Quest. As far as RPGs go, although great, it's a very simplified RPG, so don't expect to be crafting items or earning points to spend on an upgrade tree. You can upgrade your equipment and abilities by collecting pieces in each level. Upgrades require 3 fragments, which are then brought to whomever is that upgrade person for that item, such as the blacksmith. The village, where you upgrade equipment and enter levels, is a nice little hub that is much better than just selecting a level to play. The fighting in this game can be frantic at times, as more enemies start to appear, and as mentioned previously, you'll need to get used to blocking attacks and then quickly switching to your crossbow to fire bolts at large enemies. Another interesting aspect of the game is the God mode. By holding down the 2 grip buttons, your character grows huge, which gives you different abilities that are unlocked as you play. From growing and shrinking trees to solve puzzles or provide protection, to throwing lightning bolts to destroy large enemies, it's an interesting addition to the gameplay. In order to activate God mode, you need to collect energy from enemies and purple crystals, scattered everywhere in the world. Enemies also drop temporary upgrades to weapons like special crossbow bolts. Boss battles feel very large in scale at times, and while fighting you can tell you're playing an RPG because it does take more than just fighting. There is a large element of strategy as well. It's that time in the review where I repeat myself again. The freedom of the Quest really allows for some great gameplay in Journey of the Gods. Fighting enemies with a sword and shield and being able to spin to block an attack, while then instantly spinning to slice an enemy behind you without having to worry about getting tangled up in a cable is still so freeing. Although with its simple art style, this game may not appeal to some people, I urge you to give it a shot if you're a fan of action-adventure RPGs like Wind Waker. The ability to have a game of this caliber that you can take anywhere you go and play completely tetherlessly is just amazing. I think that visually it's fun and the gameplay stands very strong, so yes, I definitely recommend you check out Journey of the Gods on the Oculus Quest. If you're looking for other Oculus Quest games, check out our other reviews here. Also, please help me out by liking and sharing this video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe for future Oculus Quest content on BMF, the unofficial home for all things Oculus Quest. Happy questing.